When your homesick college student wants to come home, it feels like a really big question. If I let them come home, is that going to make it harder for them to settle in for college, or is that just what they need? Today, I'm going to give you a simple framework to think that through. This isn't about individual advice for your specific student. It's just a way to take a minute and think through the process so you feel better about the decision you do make. And at the end, I'm going to talk about what it means for you because that's really important to me too. Before you decide what to do, it's important to understand what's happening with homesickness. This is an analogy I share with my clients. Our brains feel better when they can sort information into familiar folders. And for our kids and for all of us, that home folder is full of information. Their favorite smells, every snuggle with their pets, what you sound like, what their bed feels like, completely full of 18 years of information. That college folder, pretty empty. Maybe your one college visit that you did before they decided to go to school there. And an empty folder feels super unsafe for their brain. So the brain is screaming, go back, go find that familiar folder, go to that place where we know all the information. And that is at the root of homesickness for many students. So homesickness isn't just about missing you or your pets. It's an empty folder problem. And really the only way to long-term adjust to college is to fill that folder. So now the real question becomes, what does coming home for the weekend do for that college folder? Coming home can do one of two things. It can be just the reset they need to go back feeling better, or it can interrupt that adjustment process and make it longer as that college folder stays empty. Here are some questions to help you get that sorted. Is this a one-time request, or are they wanting to come home every weekend? Are they functioning during the week, going to class, eating, sleeping, even if it feels hard? Are they doing anything, even small things, to build familiarity on campus? And does it seem to you like exhaustion and overwhelm, or a pretty much big resistance to settling in at all? If this is a rough week and they just need a reset, a weekend at home may not derail anything. But if coming home becomes the main coping strategy, it keeps that college folder empty and just stretches out the adjustment period longer than it needs to be. So let's say you've walked through those questions and you and your student have decided they're going to stay for the weekend. So now what? The goal isn't to get rid of homesickness overnight. It's to slowly fill that college folder. One of the first things that parents like to recommend is join a club, host game night on your dorm floor. Those things don't usually land very well because they either feel too big or you can't really control if your student is going to join clubs and do things like that. So two recommendations that I make that tend to be a little bit more palatable have to do with routines and building nests. First, suggest they start building routines because routines fill that folder one day at a time. Same morning routine. Get up, brush your teeth, grab an energy drink out the door. Same coffee place every Thursday after class. Same study nook in the science building on Sundays. These routines are most helpful when they focus on the time of day when they're the most homesick. Second, build nests. Encourage them to find places on campus that can start to feel like theirs. Maybe it's one chair in the library that's always open, or a sunny place in the campus chapel that's available in between services. My college kids can both tell me their favorite places to go on campus, especially to study, and that has really made college feel more special and more personal for them. Every routine, every nest starts to fill that college folder, and college starts to feel more familiar, and their brain stops shouting at them to go home. That's really what we're aiming for. Now, I want to be clear about something really important. While 70% of college students do experience homesickness, it typically stays on the level of just distressing and not dysfunction. But I want you to know some red flags to look for so you can think about that distinction. If your student isn't going to class at all, isn't showering, isn't eating, isn't leaving their, are they expressing hopelessness? Or do they have a mental health history or other kind of history that's going to make big transitions extra hard for them? That's when a campus counselor or some kind of mental health professional is the right next step. This framework is for expected adjustment. If your gut is telling you something bigger, please seek out extra information or extra help. And now let's talk about you. because when that phone rings and you're hearing your student be so upset, it is horrible for you. Ask me how I know. You don't have a college folder yet either. And your home folder is screaming, bring them home. Let's get everybody in the same folder, in the same nest, so they are safe. But your huge emotional response doesn't actually mean that your student needs to come home. It just means your brain is also reacting to that empty folder problem. So when that call happens, just pause for a minute and ask yourself these questions. Will a weekend at home be a reset, or does it seem to be an escape plan? Are there red flags, or is this expected adjustment? Share this folder concept with your student and decide together. And do not be afraid to reach out to campus support or your local healthcare provider if you need more information and more ideas on how to handle your specific situation. I mentioned before that it can be helpful to send a care package to help them with those routine and nesting efforts. I actually have a video on what to put in a homesick care package. I'll link to it here and you can watch that next. I'll see you soon.